All right, so we talked about organizational structure today. And organizational structure essentially answers two major questions: who does what work and who makes decisions? In regard to who does what work, we have specialization, which is collecting tasks into jobs. We have formalization, which is the extent to which there are explicit rules or guidelines about who can do what work. We have, in regard to who makes decisions, we have centralization, which is whether decisions are made by a few powerful people in the organization or whether decisions are spread out throughout the organization. We have chain of command, which is who reports to whom. And then we have span of control, which is how many direct reports each manager has. We can take these five aspects of organizational structure and we can organize them in three main ways. We can have a functional structure, a divisional structure, or a matrix structure. So we're gonna go through and talk about these three different types of structures: functional, divisional, and matrix. And I'm going to show you how each of them relates to the five aspects of organizational structure: specialization, formalization, centralization, chain of command, and span of control. And I'm going to do it in such a way so that it seems like paint by numbers, where you could just go, oh, I have high specialization, so that's functional structure. It's not really like that in real life. This is an oversimplification. That you can have lots of different mixes of the five aspects of organizational structure. But I'm going to give you the simple version today so you kind of understand it, but don't think that this is exactly how it is and exactly how it plays out in the real world. Okay, so we'll start by talking about functional structures. Functional structures are when firms are structured around specific business functions. This is the most common way to structure organizations. So you got the marketing department, the accounting department, you got HR, and then you got operations, the people that actually do the work on a day-to-day basis. So we've split the organization up based on which functions people are performing. Functional structures tend to be high in specialization because each department is specializing in a certain business function. They tend to be high in formalization because each department is responsible for specific tasks. They tend to be high in centralization, where you have usually one executive overseeing all the different functions, and then you have a vice president overseeing each aspect of each different business function, so HR and marketing, et cetera, tend to have a strict chain of command, and then a low or medium span of control. And by low span of control, I mean that each manager only has a few direct reports. A divisional structure is when firms are structured around products, customers, or regions. So we might split up a company into divisions where we have an Asian division, a North American division, and a European division. That would be a divisional structure. We can also divide organizations up based on the products they make. So GE makes a ton of different products. They have a division for making airplane engines. They have a division for making medical devices like CAT scan machines. And they have a division for making household appliances like light bulbs. So these divisions are centered around the products that they make. And then lastly, you can divide an organization up, structure an organization based on customers. Most banks do this, so they have divisions that are responsible for retail banking, personal banking, and commercial banking. Divisional structures tend to be medium in specialization, medium in formalization, medium in centralization, medium in chain of command, and low to medium on span of control. Matrix structures rely on teams to blend functional and divisional structures. Let me show you what I mean by this. Let's take a company, an organization that has a functional structure. So we see here we got the marketing department, the finance department, and operations. However, we'll also put a divisional structure on it by product. So we got jet engines, healthcare, technology, and home appliances. And what we do is we combine these two structures so that for each product team, there's a person from each functional department. So we're making CAT scan machines. We have someone from marketing on the team that's making the CAT scan machines. We have someone from finance on that team. We have someone from operations on that team. So it's not like engineering designs a product in isolation and then goes and talks to marketing about how to sell it, or goes to talk to operations about how to manufacture it. That these people are working together throughout the project. So you have marketing's input from the beginning. You have manufacturing's input from the beginning. And people from each of the functional departments are working on each project team. That's what a matrix structure is. Matrix structures tend to be low in specialization because you're working on all these different teams. They tend to be low in formalization. They tend to be lower in centralization. They tend to be lax in chain of command. And they tend to be high in span of control. And again, by high span of control, I mean each manager has a lot of direct reports. So again, this isn't paint by numbers, that there's a lot of diversity within this chart, but I'm just presenting it to you in a simplified way so you can understand the basic concepts of these three different organizational structures. In the real world, most firms tend to use a mix of organizational structures. So for example, you might have a divisional structure based on region, where we have our Asian region, our North American division, our European division. But then within those divisions, we use a functional structure. So within the Asian division, they have marketing, finance, and operations, and within each of those regions. So it's this mix of, at the highest level, we have a divisional structure, and then at lower levels, we have a functional structure. So today we talked about organizational structure. Organizational structure answers two main questions for businesses. Who does what work? And we answer that question with specialization and formalization. And who makes decisions? And that centralization, chain of command, and span of control. Why do we care about organizational structure? Why are we studying this? Because organizational structure helps us accomplish our strategy, going back to Porter's generic strategies of cost leadership, cost focus, broad differentiation, and differentiation focus. Why do we care about our strategy? Because it positions us within the industry to combat the five forces of rivalry, buyer power, threat of new entrants, threat of substitutes, and supplier power. And why do we care about the five forces? Because they determine return on investment. And that is what we care about as an organization. We are structuring our organization to maximize ROI. So always keep that in mind. When you're assessing, is this structure right for this organization? The question is does this structure facilitate the strategy in a way that's going to position us within our industry to maximize ROI? That's the question.